I said, okay, I'm surrendering. I don't get it. On one level, I'm making more money than I've ever made, but I'm unhappier than I've ever been. And I feel like crap. And I want out of my marriage and I'm going to hurt my kids. And my mom's dying and nothing seems safe any longer. And I just feel like a piece of shit.
Welcome to the Real Estate Ish Show. I have probably our biggest guest yet, Cody Sperber here today. He is a mentor of mine, is somebody you probably don't even know this, but I've been following him for years. When I got started, I started watching his videos about 12 years ago, and it was just him and a whiteboard teaching me how to, understand what cap rate is. So he's a multi-business owner. He's huge in the education space. I'm excited to have him today. Welcome to the show, Cody.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't know 12 years ago. Damn.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It was 2009, which I just got lucky and happened to start investing at the right time. When was your first real estate deal? What was
2003.
2003.
And it took me 14 months
to get it done.
To get a single deal done.
Why so long?
I just sucked.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. You got to go back in time. Think about no social media, not a lot of content online. There's no courses to buy. There's no podcasts to listen to. It's just
YouTube wasn't as big back then.
YouTube did not exist.
Oh, really?
When I first started, YouTube was not even a thing. There was no social media. It was, you go to a back of newspaper and you get a little tiny ad and it says real estate seminar put on by whoever in, Reno, Nevada. And you get your butt on a plane and you fly to Reno and you buy a ticket and you go to a seminar.
And it could be a scam. It could not be. You have no clue.
No, most of them were just giant pitch fests, right? And they were great salesmen and all that stuff. And trust me, I bought everything. I was that guy with his credit card in his hand, buying every book and tape and course and boot camp I could. Or you went down to the local real estate meetup because there was some of that going on. And you're with all the other people that have never done a deal and you're all hanging around going, how do you do a deal? And everybody's giving each other tips, but none of us have actually made any real money.
What's in real estate. What's the value of the real estate that you own today?
Ooh. Well, historically, I've been a flipper. I've been a developer, wholesaler, flipper. I was never a big buy and hold guy. I always owned commercial real estate where I ran my businesses out of. I think the point of a business is to own the real estate that the businesses operate out of. At my peak, the most real estate I've ever owned at one time back in the day when I was just flipping was about 88 units. And that's when we were buying lots at the foreclosure auction and all that stuff. And I ended up selling all of those properties off over time. Right now, I probably have about 750 doors because about 3-4 years ago, we transitioned into really a lot more buy and hold. We got into some multifamily. I own 2. I'm a part of an owner group because these are big these are $131 million apartment buildings. So, one person doesn't own those. Typically I'm in a big group, but we're part of the GP side of things, the syndication side of things. And so we have 2 big apartment deals. I just bought 2 banks.
Wow.
Yeah. Old banks. We're going through the rezoning entitlement process to convert them to be we have some interest from Chipotle and different fast food restaurants. So I'm doing more of those types of development projects. So it's hard to tell because, I might be sitting on 7 houses that I'm building from the ground up. Mm-hmm. But is that really real estate I own, or is that just a widget that's in process before it gets completed and I try to sell it?
Let me give you some context around my question. I want to paint because I gave you the introduction, but I want to paint for the audience kind of where you're at today. And I'm going to rewind back to where you started, but where you're at today. So you're a real estate developer. You just brought in a lot of great content.
I own hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate right now.
You have other businesses. Walk me, just give me a very high level where you're at today. And then I want to rewind back to the beginning.
Yeah. I own a lot of companies, but I probably have 3 or 4 that are 8-figure businesses that do well, that are actually making money. The rest suck and don't make money, or they're just holding companies that just own lots of assets and real estate and that kind of thing.
Who do you attribute going from here to here? Sometimes it's your parents, sometimes it's a mentor. Who would you say is, other than yourself and your belief in yourself?
I was going to say, I'd like to thank myself.
Other than yourself, who do you attribute your success to?
Yeah, I've had great mentors. Lots of great mentors. It depends on what we're talking about. As far as real estate, I got my first deal with the help of a guy named Lyle. He was my first real estate mentor. I struggled, like I said, for 14 months trying to do my first deal. I got close a bunch of times. You learn very quickly that this real estate business is tough. Everybody's not kumbaya and there's not cupcakes and rainbows. It's cutthroat and aggressive, and you got to be tough, and you got to tell people how to do business with you. I thought everybody was just nice. And like when people said, don't worry, we'll pay you on the HUD, just connect me directly with the person and we'll get you paid. And then they cut you out of the deal. You know, you learn through those failures, like, hey, I'm not putting up with this stuff anymore. Like, you put me on the HUD, you put this in writing, or I'm not connecting you. I'm not doing it.
What I've noticed is there are some people, and I do not want to name names on this podcast, but we both know these people that, and I think it's in general, when people are getting started, it's the most likely time for them to cheat and steal in that kind of way. Promise something and not do it because they feel like they haven't made it themselves. So they have to step on somebody to get ahead. Right. And there's always those people in life. And you just need to know that you got to protect yourself. Like partnerships without agreements, and you just have to protect yourself.
You gain that intuition and that gut feeling over time by getting screwed over. I mean, I tell new investors all the time, like, listen to your guts. Your guts are telling, that's God's voice. He's telling you, be aware of this person. This person's cutthroat. They're sharky. They're gonna take you out if they have an opportunity to. They might sound loyal. They might sound like your best friend, but the reality is they're only out for themselves. And the unfortunate fact is most people are short-sighted and they play the what's in it for me game. And I've always played the long game. It's how I built my brands. It's how I've been able to scale multiple businesses. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. The definition of integrity isn't just doing what you say for other people. I make commitments to myself. I want to be a certain way. I want to roll through life a certain way. And so I try to keep the promises I make to myself. And one of the things that was a transition for me is I was trying to do all this stuff on my own, and I kept getting beat up and pushed around and sidelined and taken advantage of. And I realized, like, this is a team sport. This is not a standalone business. I have to find other people that are winners and get proximity to them. And that's where Lyle came in. He was the first person I got proximity to. I actually met him at a real estate event, a Jack Miller event.
That's cool.
And Jack was one of the OGs, like best of the best creative finance gurus in the world. He's been doing creative finance since the 70s. Wow. And there was a group of them. They were all old. It was Pete Fortunato, John Schaub, Jack Miller, Lyle Wall, like all these old timers, and they all hung out together, and they were cheap asses. Like, they weren't like these flashy they weren't like me, right? We're like Lambos and watches and shit. These guys actually were good with money. Yeah. And they were so cheap that when we did pizza parties and stuff, they would call around to pizza places late at night and find people who ordered pizza but never showed up and got them, and go buy the old leftover slices. That's how cheap they were. So anyway, these were the guys that I got to know. And that's when I finally started having breakthroughs. Is you got to get proximity to people that are doing stuff outside of the classroom, not just trying to sell you a course, and that actually lean in and put love and energy into me.
And you'll still fall on your face, but you'll fall on your face less. Right. You'll still have issues. You'll still run into problems. Of course. When you have a good mentor, I mean, you'll just.
He never solved my problem. That's what's interesting about a good mentor. He didn't talk to me. He wasn't like, go do this. He just course corrected me and allowed me to discover the truth by asking me great questions. So if I said, well, what should I do next? He'd flip it immediately. He'd go, well, what do you think you should do? Right. And hey, I got this scenario. It's a foreclosure, it's a bankruptcy, and it's a divorce. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know anything about any of these. I look like I'm 15 years old. I have no money. I drive a piece of shit truck.
15 years old.
Yeah, right. What do I do? Well, what do you think you should do? He actually approached it from like a Socratic, it's called Socratic method. It's like the Socrates method. It's like through asking of great questions, it allows the student to discover the truth. That's a great mentor. And he would never let me get hurt, but he would never answer it for me. He always just guided me through the potholes. And that's how I became so good so quickly. Finally, after all those months of trying, then also within 2 months of hiring, and I actually had to hire him. Great mentors are busy. Mm-hmm. You either have to bring them deal flow at like a lot of deal flow so you can earn their attention, or just cut the check. Just cut the check. Money loves speed, and time is valuable. And these wealthy people, that's their number one asset is their time. And so it's like, you got to start speaking their language. I needed to, hey, what is it going to take for you to pay attention to me? And he said, cut the check or bring me a ton of deals. And I'm like, God, I don't even know how to get one deal, let alone a ton of deals. I'm just going to figure out a way to cut the check. So he was my first real estate mentor. But then as I evolved, you start to realize there's a lot of verticals in real estate. Wholesaling just one. I need to learn creative finance. I need to learn buy and hold. I need to learn how to raise capital. I need to understand that it's only about 15% technical. It's like 85, 90% mental. The psychology of winning is a whole different skill set that I needed to understand and embrace. That's where the Joseph McClendon IIIs and the Dean Graciosis and the Tony Robbins, people that are now friends of mine, I had to same thing I did with Lyle. It's like, how do I get proximity to these other power players that really have cracked the code on the psychology side?
And it's pay to play. You got to pay to be in those circles and those masterminds and those, to get but once you become friends with them, it's a whole different level.
It helps for sure. But I'm the best friend to have. I'm the guy, if you launch a book and I'm one of your close friends, I'm the first one in line to buy $25,000 worth of books. I'm that friend. I like all your shit on social. I comment on everything. I'm constantly cheerleading my friends and showing them how I show up.
Yeah.
On every level. You got a new course? I'll buy your course. I never ask for anything for free. I don't ask for backstage passes. I'll buy my own VIP, everything. And they're like, damn, Sperber shows up. Sperber supports. Then when I throw a big event and I go, hey, will you speak at it? They're like, I'm on it. And they get in their private jet and they fly to my event. And I'm like, hey, what do you want me to pay you? I got you nothing. And it's just this energy of we serve each other at such a great level. And we never take advantage of each other's generosity.
Something that came to my mind when we were talking is you asked me, well, what type of mentor? And I don't know if mentor is the right answer here, but you have solved branding in a lot of ways, self-branding or whatever you want to call it that others haven't. I mean, you're famous for the Chase checks.
Yeah, of course.
You're famous for that. I don't know anyone else that was doing that. I was going to jokingly, I prepared a question. The only question I prepared for this whole podcast was did Chase pay you to, are you getting royalties from advertising for Chase?
Cut the check, Chase. Where's my royalty check? No.
But where did these ideas come from?
I love marketing because I love real estate. I believe in it. It's the only vehicle that a dipshit like me, that's a total degenerate, that was, smoking weed and hanging with his buddies and playing video games and just floating through life, just trying to get by and not go to prison.
So parents, if you have kids that are doing that today, there's a chance they could turn out okay.
Yeah, there's a high chance. Most of my most successful friends sold drugs. It's not all of us are fortunate enough to have mentors and successful parents in our lives and all that stuff. It's I wish I did. I wish I had more successful people around me. But for me, if I wanted money, I had to go sell weed, or sell candy or sell something or come up with my parents never gave me anything.
So as far as your brand image.
That's what I was going to say.
I want to understand what the inner workings of your mind, what makes you such a good brand. And if somebody is, hey, I'm successful in real estate, but I haven't built my brand. What do those steps look like?
Yeah. So that's what I was going to get at is real estate changed my life. I'm the first person in my family to make $1 million. I'm the first multi-million. I became a millionaire on paper. I'm looking at my tax returns and there's 1.3 million made on it at age 28. And I'm like, wow, I'm a millionaire. By age 30, I'm a multi-millionaire. And it's just one of those things where I have to share it. I don't feel like it's an option for me. I feel like it's an obligation. When I'm coaching new people and they're like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm like, great, neither am I. I'm just so passionate about it. It changed my life. I believe in it so much, in the power of what real estate can do for you. And that there's this whole world of creative real estate out there that nobody even talks about.
Is that where the courses started? Is that where the education side of your business started, from that passion?
So I didn't sell education for 7 years. I didn't sell education until 2009. And that's when Clever Investor, the education company, started being born, 2009, 2010. Before that, I was just a real estate guy that was trying to break through the noise of real estate, but I was always kind of thinking forward and kind of cutting edge. So I was always like, okay, how do I market my business? Well, at first I used to go around and this was my strategy in the beginning. How do I build a buyer's list? I go around to every real estate company in town. I walk into the real estate office. I look at the wall. There's every agent's business card hanging on the wall. Yeah. And I walk in, I say hi to the receptionist and I grab the business cards off the thing and I run out the front door and I start texting and calling every real estate agent saying, I got wholesale deals. Well, that's a lot of work. I'm like, how do I automate this? How do I mass email all of them at one time? Well, it's 2006, 2005. There was no mass emailing system. It did not exist.
Yeah.
So I created one, right? And so I was the first real estate investor in the world to do mass marketing through email. No, it did not exist. We built, it was literally a desktop application that we created, that I hired a guy that I met at a golf course who was coding while he was checking people in. And I'm like, bro, you know how to code? I have an idea. Right. And then we added mass texting capability. Then I met the guy who actually created ringless voicemail randomly at a charity event. Yeah. And I'm like, can I license this? He goes, I don't even know what this is yet. I just created it and patented it or whatever. I'm like,
God put all these people in your place. Like, yes. I love hearing stories like that, because that's not coincidence.
But the marketing side of me was always like getting rewarded, because it was like, oh, I can sell more properties faster. I can text and get a hold of more people and market better. And so I started thinking, well, how do I build an email list? How do I build a text list? And that's when you start doing research and you realize, like, there's this whole world of like, you got to teach yourself copywriting. You got to understand what like a little online funnel is. And then social media came out. It was like, well, how do I pull emails and contacts off of social? And I was never really comfortable on video. Like, I'm not a guy who wants my picture taken.
See, I love hearing stuff like this on a podcast like this, because I had never in a million years think you would say that. Because you, in my opinion, I've seen your studio.
Yeah.
Like, you're legit set up for video.
I made video a core competency.
Interesting.
Like any muscle, you got to go to the gym and build it. And I can't tell you how many thousands of times. Have you ever left a voicemail and then you listen to it back and you're like, I sound like that?
Yeah.
Like a little girl. I sound like a little girl. And you just want to delete it so badly. That's how I was with video for the first 200 videos. But I started forcing myself. I just thought of it like digital real estate. I'm just going to create it and throw it out there, and I'm never going to look at it again. And I don't even care if people are making fun of me online. Like, I'm not even going to know it exists.
And a lot of people did.
Oh yeah. I got filleted. Yeah. But then I started thinking like, wow, there's a direct correlation with the more content I put out, the more money I'm making. It's instant almost. And even if my video only gets 50 views or 100 views, and one person opts into my email list from it, and that one person buys a course, and I change that one person's life, it's worth it. So I just started putting out content. It was rough. The content you saw in the beginning was me on a whiteboard.
It was pretty rough. Yeah.
Talking.
But it was good content. It was good value, but the content was rough.
Yeah, it was just rough, raw. Like, and this is why I tell people, start with what you have. You got a cell phone, run it. Yeah. You can't afford editing, use AI right now. Like, just do whatever you can to teach yourself some basic editing. And building a brand is actually easier than ever at the moment because of like Chat GPT. You can sound like an expert in any niche. You just got to learn how to prompt.
You probably don't know this name, but do you know Conley Wolfswinkle or John Perkinson or any of those kind of guys? They're big landowners in town, and more in the land game. And I was talking to one of them the other day, and they said, man, I loved the old days, because to do a big land deal, I would just go down to the county records and I'd have to shift through all the papers and the blueprints and find out where, the Del Webb bought a piece. And I would immediately run out and talk to all the farmers around there and buy pieces. But like in today's world, they're like, I don't know how people do it with the internet. Like, the speed of information is so fast. So like back in the day, like when you're the first to some of this stuff, you can be a pioneer in it. And but you're right. In a different way, it's easier.
Yeah.
To do it.
And like even today though, I'm still doing the exact same thing. I'm just using AI to go faster than you.
Walk me through that. Give me some advice here. Is somebody listening to this, they're like, hey, how is he using AI to go fast?
Simple. I built a software called the Deal Automator. And this is not a Deal Automator pitch. I don't care if you never get the deal. In fact, I don't want you to get the Deal Automator. It's my little tool that me and my students use to go fast. But it's, think about the amount of data on every adult in the US. There's about 2,000 data points on every adult. I know whether or not your mother-in-law lives with you. I know what magazines you subscribe to. I know where you get your insurance and where you vacation. There's data banks out there of all the things you search online and which social platforms you gravitate towards and what type of email addresses to use. And whether or not when you buy a computer, do you use the out of the box stuff or do you download extra apps on it? There's so much data on people. And so we can take AI, and we've been doing this for about 4 years, where we score every homeowner in the United States with 3 different scores: a retail score, a rental score, and a wholesale score. So imagine this. Imagine if I want to find out in Phoenix, Arizona, if I want to market to every homeowner in Phoenix, there's millions of homeowners. It's too expensive. I can't send them all direct mail. I can't chase them around the internet and do ads to them. It's just it would be so expensive. I can't skip trace and call them all. But if I had a software that had like psychic capabilities that could tell me out of all the homeowners in the Phoenix metro area, which ones are highly likely to sell at a discount within the next 90 days. Now I can cut that massive pool of people down to a smaller, more manageable bucket. Mm-hmm. And we have to use all of those data points and an algorithm that's machine learning, and it's getting smarter as it dials itself in over time. And we can basically, like a credit score, the higher the score, the higher the probability and propensity.
The more dollars you should put towards the marketing.
Yes. And so what it does is it takes a guy like me that knows, hey, if I send this postcard out, I'm going to get a good response if it's somebody who's interested in selling. I want to get a lot less no's. So let's just eliminate all the BS out there and just send postcards to the people that have the highest AI scores. And now I can afford to send out 10,000 or 5,000 postcards versus millions.
Yeah. And your return on investment's a lot higher. You mentioned retail as one of those things. Mm-hmm. Is that somebody likely to sell retail?
Yeah.
Do you use that with real estate agents to get listings?
We do have real estate agents in there for sure. Yeah. I mean,
if there's a real estate agent, so a lot of the audience of this show are real estate agents. If there's a real estate agent and interested in this, in your software, could that help them get more listings?
Of course. Yeah. But I would encourage them to use more than just that tool.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. When you get in there and you realize like the real evolution of an agent or an investor is not to be a wholesaler, not to be a listing agent, not to be a short sale expert, not to be a whatever. It's to be a real estate expert and make money from every lead. Mm-hmm. And that's where our software is really powerful because it's a full CRM. It builds your websites. It has all the marketing stuff in it, and it has the AI attached to it. So you can do, more creative finance deal, more retail deals, and more wholesale deals. But that's one example of how we're going faster than a lot of our competition. And I imagine pairing that stuff with my ability to build a personal brand. It's in parallel, and it's happening all much more aggressive than everybody else. If I inventoried your audience right now, I'd say how many people are building a personal brand? I would say maybe 10, 15, maybe 20%. If they're real estate agents, there might be 15% of them that are actually doing a good job putting content out consistently, all that. But if I audited all of those, there might be 2 that are actually playing the game the right way and at an aggressive enough level to get results.
And to monetize off of it.
It's like, how many pieces of content can you put out a day? I can do 3. Well, you need to do 24. You should put out a reel every hour on the hour for the next 90 days. And then let's talk. If you're struggling in this market where that's changing and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be, serving food at Chili's if I don't pull my shit together. Yeah. Put out more content.
You just redefined my goals. I have a goal next year to do 1 reel a day.
Come on. We got to pump those numbers up.
Oh, you're bringing me up. I love it. I like being around people like you. It levels up my game.
Yeah. But why couldn't you do 1 a day with ChatGPT? Think of this: hook, problem, solution. I'm just going to give you a formula.
Okay.
The right type of content isn't just random conversation or a random thought you have in your head and you just turn the camera on and talk. You got to really be strategic with your content creation. So a good formula to plug into is hook, problem, solution.
Okay.
Right? Imagine if I have ChatGPT and I'm Cody Sperber and I want to sell more real estate education. The hook is, this is the number 1 problem with most new real estate investors. That's a hook. Mm-hmm. Right? This is the number 1 challenge with most new investors. This is the number 1 way new real estate agents fail. Mm-hmm. This is the worst thing you can ever do when getting a mortgage. It's a hook, right? I'm just giving you hooks. Boom, boom. Yeah. Right? Why buy a house when you can get them for free? Pay attention. That's a hook. So you got to hook them. You got like a few seconds to hook them. And then the problem is most new real estate investors think that they need deep pockets, good credit, or a license to be able to flip a house. That's simply not true. In fact, you never even have to go to a bank.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. And the solution is there's a world out there called there's a concept out there called wholesaling real estate, which is one of the purest forms of the no money down real estate transaction, where you're flipping contracts and not actually real estate, but you can get paid in less than 30 days and there's no risk associated with it. And I just write that down. Hook. This is the number one mistake new investors make. Yeah. Problem. Most people think you need money to do real estate. Solution. Real estate wholesaling is the solution. And I go to ChatGPT and I say, write me a 1-minute script where the hook is this, the problem is this, and explain that the solution is this. And you hit prompt. It's going to go, and in a third of a second, going to write you a dope 1-minute script. Yeah. And by the way, with ChatGPT, just so you know, you can set it up. There's a settings section in ChatGPT where you can say, my name's Cody Sperber. I'm known as a clever investor. I've been in real estate for over 20 years. I've done thousands of deals, every type of deal under the sun. I started out with wholesaling, and that's what I'm most known for, but I've built brands. I have millions of followers. I've sold $100 million worth of education. I've done this. I own this. And save. So when I say write it in my voice, ChatGPT knows who the hell I am.
I just assumed it knew based on prior things I did. I didn't really go into the settings.
No, you go to the settings. And so all of a sudden, now when it writes my 1-minute script, it actually kind of is in my voice. And then I go to the captions app. Look, I'm schooling you guys right now. All you real estate agents should be doing this 24 times a day.
Interesting.
You go to the captions app, you turn on the little teleprompter feature, you import your little script, you practice reading it 5-6 times, you hit record, you record it so it doesn't sound like you're reading, and then you hit add captions, export, post, boom, you're done. If you can't sit there on a Saturday and get 100 scripts written for the week, or pay a virtual assistant to write you 100 scripts, and you go in the recording studio and you record them all, and it takes you, a couple hours one day to bust out your entire month's worth of content, and then you wonder why you're losing. You wonder why that there are people out there right now that are generating all the leads. This is a zero-sum game, guys. The money never leaves the ecosystem. It's just trading hands. It's going to somebody else. It's just not you.
But what I love about where we're at in this conversation is when you very first started, you were the only ones doing it. And then you also mentioned, if I took all these realtors that 10% of them are trying, but really only 1 or 2 of them are doing it right. Like, now's the time to figure out how to do it right. Now's the time to implement it. Like, today's the day to do it.
And it's easier than ever. It's fun. Gamify it. Make it fun. And the last piece that I'll add is, when you're building a personal brand, it's not about just looking cool online. Yeah, you're going to get more opportunities and leads and all that other stuff. The real business, I realized, is email marketing. Is pulling them off of the social and into your world. A great real estate agent, a great investor, a great entrepreneur, they understand that I have to get them off of social into my world that I control. I need their phone number, I need their name, and I need their email address. And if I can capture their contact information, I can now send them newsletters and build a relationship with them and talk about upcoming things and events, invite them places, meet them face to face, create real relationships with them. Yeah. But I got to get them off of social. Once that clicked in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm not really building a brand for the sake of building. I'm building a brand because I'm an email marketer. I need to learn how to write and build a connection with these people. I have over 1 million people on my personal email list. I get
your emails. Yeah.
I got 1.1. I send out 1 to 2 emails every single day. Last year, I made over $11 million from sending just emails.
Wow.
Like, that's it. That's the business. Pull them off, create an arsenal. If I was a real estate agent, I was coaching you right now, or I was your coach and you're a real estate agent and you're like, I got to do more deals. I'd say, great. How many lead magnets do you have? You go, what are you talking about? How many cool things of value can we give away? What do you mean? I don't know. I don't know your business. I was a real estate agent for a few years. I was the worst. Like, literally the worst. I think I put somebody in the back of my car one time and I was like, I quit. Like, this job is awful, right? It's not for me. But if you're a great agent, you probably have all kinds of tips, tricks, strategies, things that you can record, a mini course, an audio series. You can go on to ChatGPT and easily create like ebooks and downloads and cheat sheets and whatever.
Yeah, there's home valuations. There's all kinds of crazy
whatever
stuff.
That is.
Yeah.
Create an arsenal of like 6 or 7 of them and have easy to follow URLs that take you there. Use a system like Go High Level to build like a mini funnel where it's like literally a squeeze page with your lead magnet and then a thank you page. and put those emails and phone numbers that you get right into a marketing system, like Active Campaign.
And invite them to your events, invite them to your different things. These realtors are good at putting on events, but it's only their close circles. They're probably not bringing in, from what I've seen in my interviews, they're not bringing in these people that don't know them.
Exactly.
To their improv event or whatever they're doing that day.
Exactly. And once I understood that and the light bulb went off, I was like, oh, I'm just going to out content everybody. I'm going to be better at giving things of value away. Like if you looked at my lead magnet arsenal, I got 50, 60 lead magnets. I got one for every scenario. And I just kind of looked at like my world where I was living in, which is the investing world. I'm like, what are the biggest challenges with investors? Learning. So newbie stuff, funding, right? Brand building, comping, like deal analysis, scripts, like giving away scripts, giving away contracts. It's like, okay, I created this list of like 50 things and I just started hacking away at it. And I created all these lead magnets. And then now my job is just to create content. And at the end of every one, hey, if you got value from this, go to codyscontract.com and grab my free assignment form. It has my special clauses in it that will protect you in every transaction.
I love that. And I'd add to those 5 things, scaling and finding opportunities to sell. Have you ever sold a business?
I have. Yeah. I just exited one for 8 figures, which is awesome. It's the first major exit I've had. I've had other ones where like a partner has bought me out or something like that, but it was never big money like this.
What was that experience like? And I understand, we probably don't want to name names just yet, but what was that experience like selling a business?
Interesting, because I never did it. And like all things that you've never done, you have to learn. I didn't even know. Is there an escrow involved?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you transfer everything over? What happens to your old email addresses? Like, I don't want the new owner seeing all my old emails, like, and all that stuff.
The things people don't think about.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, how do I get paid? How much up front? Do I take a payment plan? Do I do things over time? How do I secure my money? How do I know they're not going to screw me? What if they do screw it up? How do I get the business back and the assets back and the brand back? And
especially if there's, and I don't need to know details, but if there's some type of seller carry or something, how do you get it back?
Normally, for me, there was a part carry. There was a portion up front and a part carry,
which is common in a business sale.
I wanted it. I want them to succeed, but I'm okay if they don't.
Yeah.
I'll get everything back. Yeah, there was a lot of learning lessons through that. And all it did was energize me, because like now I'm looking at businesses a little bit different, because I verticalized the world that I was in. We own the title company and the lending stuff. And, we have a transaction coordination company and just all.
A lot of those started from scratch. You weren't, buying an existing business or selling a business. There's a different world.
We just started verticalizing.
Totally different world. Yeah.
A savvy entrepreneur, especially in the investing space, takes a look at the transaction and says, who else is making money from my transaction? And then I just started trying to buy all of the businesses that made money or start the businesses that made money from my transaction.
So 8 figures is a big deal. What's next for you? Like you sell this big business that probably relieves some of time off your plate, right? Where do you fill that gap?
A ton of time.
You're 40 something years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where do you fill that time?
Well, it's exciting because one, I don't just teach stuff that I don't do. I'm actually going to have to now do all the things that I teach other people about brand building and about starting and scaling businesses. I'm looking at things now differently. I'm going, okay, AI, what's it going to disrupt? It's going to disrupt a lot of businesses. There's a high probability that AI will do customer support and do sales calls and do a lot of functions in a business, do your accounting, do this, do that. But it's not going to outsource home services businesses. A person's going to go fix your roof. Yeah. Person's going to go do your plumbing. A person's going to go install your floors.
They have to take the photos at the appointment.
They're going to take the photo. There's certain things that you just can't AI your way fully out of.
AI is not going to install a post and a sign at your property.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for me, I look at businesses like that. I'm like, those are the businesses I want to be in, because that's a very investable business. That's a buyable business. It's a scalable business. So I'm looking at flooring businesses right now, actually. And I want to do an affordable flooring business. And I want to run the same exact model that I've been selling education through to do flooring. So I want to build an online business where I run ads, put them through a funnel, a book a call funnel that sends out a sales guy that sells them flooring that I warehouse. So it's like I can install it the next day. It's like a limited cheap flooring kind of company where they can't get 50 billion types of flooring. There's like 6 to choose from. Which of these 6 do you want to do? And financing's included. And so anyways, those are the things that I'm looking at. My daughter is, I'm like super focused on alignment. I'm super focused on my family. I've had a rough year the last couple years. This last year has been the best year of my life, but the previous 2 years was really rough. Which is interesting because you called me you had to postpone because your girlfriend was having an issue. And from what I knew, you were married. So I heard girlfriend. I'm like, all right, well, he's married and has a girlfriend. Yeah, what's wrong with that? No, I'm divorced. It's just going through a lot of heavy life stuff, like going through a divorce. My mom passed away from cancer. Wow. Everything kind of, isn't it fucked up how everything just kind of happens at once sometimes? Yeah. I mean, it was just like this. Is this all right after COVID or in COVID? During COVID, divorce doesn't happen randomly. It's not just like an accident. You don't accidentally get divorced. Yeah. It was a buildup over a long period of time, being very unhappy with my situation. And then your mom starts dying and you're looking at your future and how did I get here? And how did I this up so bad? Did you ever feel alone during all that? Oh God, yeah. Like you didn't have that security blanket, I guess. And I don't mean to use such a child term, but like that foundation was kind of falling apart. For me, it was more like, imagine everybody thinking you're the man. They see you online, they see the lifestyle, they see the money. They didn't realize like all of that was actually causing me stress and anxiety, not enjoyment. I built myself a luxury prison and I hated it. Yeah. I wanted out so bad. My overhead was over $100,000 a month. I hated it. I'm a kid from Mesa, Arizona that used to sell drugs out of a Burger King drive-through window. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, I love nice stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't associate my joy and happiness with a Lamborghini. Interesting. I use those things as marketing tools. Yeah. And I like to go fast. Like I do get enjoyment driving really fast down a freeway. I understand your point, but it's not the material thing. No, I didn't care. Lamborghini, no Lamborghini. In fact, when I sold all my shit, I felt better. But when you're really at this rock's bottom's basement and you're really just in this place where you can't see out, it's almost like I sunk to the bottom of a dark lake. And I couldn't see the light anymore. It's just, you just feel very heavy and sad. But it's in that place where you finally surrender. And you finally kind of like go, okay, God. I said, okay, I'm surrendering. I don't get it. On one level, I'm making more money than I've ever made, but I'm unhappier than I've ever been. And I feel like crap. And I want out of my marriage and I'm going to hurt my kids. And my mom's dying and nothing seems safe any longer. And I just feel like a piece of shit. And I'm out of alignment in my words and my thoughts and my actions. And I'll do anything to fix this. Like, what do I need to do? Just like when I hired Lyle to finally crack the code in real estate, the reason I was successful in real estate was because Lyle had a process and he put me through a process. And on the other end of that, I had a result. When I was going through what I was going through, I had a friend recommend a place called Psychological Counseling Services in Scottsdale. And he said, it's so hard. I mean, I deal with my own, depression is the right word, but my own issues, my own marriage, it's so hard for me to be humble enough to make that call or to go do that thing. You think that, and I was that way. And I manipulated the situation and I tried everything to control and just fight my way through it because that's my spirit is a bulldog. I'm going to figure this out and I'll get everybody to work with me. But when you finally surrender and you say, okay, I'm going to go. Yeah. And I did a week-long intensive. It was 14 hours a day. It was very intense. We did every type of therapy under the sun, from horse therapy to acting therapy to one-on-one to group to EMDR to somatic release breath work. I mean, dude, I was ready to smoke mushrooms and
like, what else
drink tea. Like I was like, whatever I got to do, hook me up. But when you put yourself through a process that is that intense and you shut the rest of the world down for long enough, you realize that us entrepreneurs, we never get present. We never shut the noise off long enough to go deep. And I wish I would have done this like a decade earlier, 2 decades earlier, because I'd be so much better of a friend, as a partner. I'd probably still be married or at least a better dad. Yeah. And I'd be a lot wealthier. than I am today if I would have just went upstream and healed my inner child. But whatever, it is what it is. And it happened when it happened for me.
And some of that trauma, I mean, look, we're getting towards the end of the podcast. We can go really deep on this, but some of that trauma as a child, like it's something that makes us successful is the irony.
Yeah.
And I think some of us are scared to deal with it because we're scared it's going to keep us from being successful still. Right. It's what pushes us. It's getting bullied in high school. It's all those things, right, that we don't want to deal with. But it sounds like you dealt with / are dealing with your trauma.
Well, it's what you do with that trauma that makes you successful. And what I mean by that is I was great at compartmentalizing and bearing pain. So when something traumatic happens, like you get bullied really bad and you're scared to go to school and you're being chased in the parking lot and you're crying as you're running with your books are falling.
That happened to you?
Oh, of course.
Happened to me too.
Yeah, dude, it was awful. I was a little guy with a big mouth. And I
was good looking, but really skinny. So the cheerleaders liked me, but the football players did not like that they liked me.
Oh yeah.
I got bullied, but like legitimate.
Well, you had it better than me. I was little and not good looking.
Well, you are now.
Yeah. Thank you. And so anyway, it was just, you compartmentalize and bury, and then you wonder why you're such a good entrepreneur is like, because I could take on any amount of pain and just plow through it and bury it. And like, it never happened. It doesn't matter. Like we just have this bounce back spirit and I'm going to keep going. But by stopping and healing, which is my favorite thing I've done in my adult life, I've now gotten back in alignment. And that's because my therapist put me through a process. And when I wanted to get a 6-pack and lose weight and be in the best shape of my life, I went and did the biohacking with my friend Dr. D out of Miami. And I went and hired Wes Watson and I said, teach me how to count macros. And this was right when I was going through all this stuff. And then I called up my buddy, Andy Frisella, who owns First Form. And I said, give me all the best supplements in the world. And I just started approaching my health just like I do my businesses and attacking it and obsessing over it. And they all put me through these processes. And on the other end of it, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm reversing aging. I feel amazing. I sleep awesome. I 5 times a day. Like I got a hot new girlfriend. Like life is happening for me. All these opportunities keep happening for me. And I walk into any room and the environment doesn't with me. I change the weather. And it's like, how did he get there? Because people go, oh, I used to see you with the Czech guy and I didn't really like you.
Yeah.
But then they meet me now and they're like, I love you. Like, I don't know what changed. It's like everything changed. I had to go through this horrible evolution to become and step into my potential. And I could have done it 2 decades earlier if I would have just stopped and gotten present enough and realized my marriage is failing because women want 3 things. They want a protector, they want a provider, and they want you to be present. I was not being present. I was a horrible protector because I was out of shape and I was unhealthy emotionally, mentally, and not connected. But I was a great provider.
My wife's getting me dumbbells for Christmas. I think she's telling me that she wants a better. She's telling me something there.
Well, hell yeah. You got to fight for your relationship every second of every day. Look, and we can end this podcast. I know this is going long, but I feel called to say this. My relationship is the best I've ever had. I've never been more in love in my life. Like I obsess over her. Like I think about her 24/7. I've never been more connected to another human. It's like kind of like my twin flame. Like that's how I feel. It's that really kind of connection. And I had to go through all that to find that, but it stays connected. And we've now just crossed our 1-year mark, but it's going to stay connected because every day when I show up, it's Super Bowl in our relationship. I'm like, I'm going to play full out today. And the way I think about it is what I failed in my relationship is over time, we disconnected and I started doing yellow light behaviors. I got millions of followers. I answer the wrong DMs. I talk a little bit after I get off stage and I speak in front of all these people. I hang out with the hot chicks a little bit too long. And I just do dumb shit that I never crossed the line, but I always was crossing the line. And when I look back and I'm like, imagine if my life was being recorded. Every secret, every thought, every action, every email, all my conversations with my guy friends. And at the end of every day, Maria, my girlfriend, got to watch the tape. Would she be more in love with me and more proud of me? Or would she feel more disconnected? And if she's more in love with me and more proud of me, I did my job in my relationship.
That's really cool.
And that's how I operate now.
What I see is you stop thinking about yourself so much and start thinking about others. And not just your girlfriend, but just others, your partners, your friends,
my kids.
And your evolution from the beginning of time till now. I mean, that's kind of the summary of the podcast that I've seen. And it's something that I've learned from my father. Like, I remember these names won't mean anything to you probably. Bill Cleverly, he started Meritage Homes.
Mm-hmm.
He sat me down one day and he's like, I had nothing. I had signs in the back of my cars. We were starting Meritage, trying to sell lots out there. And your dad was a big deal developer and I was struggling. And I reached out to him and he invited me over for breakfast. He had no reason to invite him over. You know,
I love that story.
He just like cared. So I've always learned that from my dad. I'm not always good at it. And it's hard when you're getting going to remember. It goes back to that idea that a lot of people, when they're getting started, they step on others to get ahead. But the really good ones, the good people in life, learn that we're in it together and investing in others and being like Lyle. Like Lyle didn't have to give you the time.
Yeah, play the long game.
Yeah, play the long game. And it's amazing. There are relationships that I messed up back in the day that today I wish I wouldn't have. Because at the time I didn't.
You ever told them that?
Probably need to.
Why not?
Yeah, I need.
You're in a power position. It can't hurt you.
Yeah, and it's
it can only help you.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I've done it.
Before we end the show, you are on the Real Estate Is show. Yeah. So I don't know if you've thought about your word or not, but you need at least, I said 5 or 6 words, and the last guy was on here gave us like 20 words, but I want you to define what real estate means to Cody Sperber.
The ultimate freedom creator, the ultimate cash flow creator, the ultimate freedom creator.
Which one do you want?
I think freedom.
Okay.
Freedom, because that's the ultimate goal. We all want just more joy, more control, more happiness in our lives, more freedom. And real estate's a great vehicle to do it.
It is.
Where else I know a lot of places you can make a lot of money, but where can you make a lot of money and not pay taxes?
You know what's interesting
about it? And create relationships with some of the best people on the planet.
And I love it. And look, you didn't know who I was. I randomly was touring your podcast room. Somebody asked me to go back there and check it out. And you're standing there, you're like, hey, who are you? What's going on? You know, you're just so nice and so pleasant. Like I had no business being in your space. You know what I mean? Just some random guy walking around your space here. You can
I love it. I love it.
Spelled everything.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, no, I love it. Those are really cool.
Yeah. So no, this has been a great podcast and I really appreciate having you on.
Thank you. And I hope the big takeaway on this is you can't have it all. You can be wildly successful in real estate. You can be wildly successful in your relationship, with your health, with your spiritual game. You know, it just this BS of like, you got to give up a bunch of other things to have great success in one area of life. It's just not true. No. I thought it was. I used to justify waking up at 3:30, 4 a.m. and working immediately. And I just look back now and I'm like, you're such a doofus. Like all I did was stress myself out and put myself on the defensive. I could have gotten to the same result, but been healthier, more whole, more connected if I just would have elevated a little bit above it and said, you know what, I'm going to heal myself. Because this was the big lesson in therapy that I took away. You cannot give what you do not have. Meaning I can't give you, my business partner, or my wife, or my kids, or anybody in my life, my friends, my students, unconditional love if I don't even have unconditional love for me.
Yeah.
And once I healed myself and showed up as the best version of me, everything else started to line up. And I realized, wow, I can't have it all. This has been a great podcast. Thank you for having me on.